2025 Honda's got 4 things in mind: looks, performance, mileage, and most importantly, taking down the Toyota Prius. And this Civic Hatchback Sport Hybrid is aiming to do just that. It's actually quite nice and a really great ride. So let's dig into, can this Civic take down the Toyota Prius in 2025? Let's find out. In 2025, all Hondas do have a redesigned front end, and all of the Civics do tend to share a very similar one. But it's a very nice front end as well. In the center here, we do have a large Honda emblem with this gloss black grille here. And then at the lower lip, we've got more of a flat black with the red lip that sticks out, and it's half functional down there, fully functional up here. On the sides, we've also got functional vents as well. And then we've got also the Honda style headlights with the daytime running light and LED headlamps as well, so that's quite nice. And all Honda Civics do have the same hood unless you do go for the Type R, but other than that, it's a very nice front end. For a hybrid, it's extremely sporty, a little aggressive, especially with that lower lip, and I like it a lot. What else I like coming back is we have 18-inch wheels on this hybrid, no 14, 15, 16-inch wheels like you see on the Prius, and they look quite good as well. They don't scream, "I'm a hybrid," praise me, right? They look very nice. I like them overall. Coming back further, we've got a gloss black side view mirror, no cameras on it or anything like that. We do have lane departure warning on the mirror itself, but nothing for your passerbys. Also going back further, we do have paint to match door handles, but what you'll notice, that also gives it that really sporty look. If you look down at the bottom at the skirt, we've got the flat black lip that's coming out there. Again, looks really nice, gives it some body lines and just some shape overall. What else has shapes too is this quarter panel window. It's very small. You've got like a tiny little space in there that you can actually see through, but I just love the hatchbacks, and this one is no different. It's got a very good shape to it. I love it. Coming around the side though, we do have the taillights that kind of come into that rear quarter panel, and they come around the side, which these are LED lights. But what's interesting is actually on the inside for our reverse and driving lights, we've got your typical halogen bulbs, which in 2025 is a little strange. I think Honda might have missed that memo that they're behind times. But the rear end also does have some good shape to it as well. We've got this large rear window since it is a hatchback, and there's no spoiler, so we do have an exposed rear window wiper, no problem. But here's where that shape comes into play. The trunk kind of just comes out a little bit. It's almost like a spoiler, but it does give it some nice shape across. In typical Honda fashion though, we do have the rear taillights that run all the way across, and a nice silver Honda badge in the center there. Also, we've got tons of badging all over the place. We've got Sport, Hybrid, and the Civic badge all over there. Now, unlike some other hybrids, we do have no exposed tailpipes, which I think that's fine on this hybrid, and it actually looks pretty good. If you want exposed tailpipes, you do have to go up to the Type R or the SI. But other than that, I think that this Civic Hybrid is looking real clean all the way around. Let's hop into the inside though and see if it's just as nice. In the inside, we do see we've got just two-tone door panels. We've got a little gloss black here with just some fabric around and some injection molded plastic. Very standard controls on our doors. We've got our side view mirror controls, our unlock and lock, window locks, and the one-touch operation for our front windows. The rears, however, they do not. The seats themselves, they are manual operation, so you've got no power adjustment on it, but of course you can tilt the back, and you've also got some lumbar control, and of course it also goes forwards and backwards too. But hopping in, it is pretty comfortable. It's not bad, especially for just a fabric seat. It does actually have some leather accents around the edges, but it's a nice seat overall. What else is nice though is the steering wheel. It again does not have a very hybrid steering wheel. It's pretty sporty. It's got some good looks to it as well. We've got, of course, the silver emblem in the center here with the gloss black kind of outlining everything. Pretty typical controls, but good, easy to find buttons with large logos on them, so I'm not complaining about that. On the left-hand side, we've got our multimedia controls and our voice assistants, and on the right-hand side, we've got our different driver's assistance features. Beyond the steering wheel though, we do have a couple different paddle shifters on the back. They are plastic, but you've got them, so that's nice. We've got very standard stalks behind those. On the left hand side is for our lights and our turn signals, and on the right hand side would be for our front windshield wipers and the rear. Very practical. I know where everything is. Speaking of what you want to know where it is though, the rear digital gauge cluster brightness, you're going to want to be able to turn that up in case it is bright out and you can't see. We've also got our traction control button So you can turn that off if you feel like getting froggy. Now beyond the stalks in our steering wheel, we do have a half digital gauge cluster and a half physical dial, but it's about 10.2 inches total. You got different drive modes that you can see when you go through there, and different information you can get as you kind of flip through there as well. So you can look at your miles, your trip amount, your trip, and whatever else you want to see that you can customize in there. Otherwise, it's very standard and typical. But to the right of our steering wheel, we do have our push to start button. We've got great, easy to use physical controls for our heating and air. Love to see that. And then they've got, of course, they're still using that honeycomb style vent system, which I actually kind of like. It's growing on me. But up above that, we do have a 7-inch infotainment center, and it actually does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, surprisingly. So you get that, that's great. And then also it's got your typical functions like radio, phone, and what have you. Otherwise, it is very basic, not a lot that you're doing in there, but you get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so what more do you need? Coming up above there, you've got a very standard rear view mirror, no home link buttons, anything like that. Got a couple dome light controls and the switch so that the doors will turn on or off the lights as well. Also, we've got the slider for our sunroof, which is a full-size sunroof on this hybrid. That's very nice to see. Happy that Honda did not cheap out there. And below our heating and air controls, we've got two Type-C USB ports. One is for data, one is for power. And then we've got a 12-volt outlet in your cigarette jack style. No wireless charger in here, but you do get a nice space for your key or whatever else you want to toss in there, like your phone. And then we've got a very standard gear selector as well. I like this style, so I'm happy to see that. Beyond that though, we do have our drive mode selector where we've got sport, normal, eco, and that is it. So that's all you need. It is a hybrid. But then we've got our electronic parking brake and our brake hold. Also, the center console here has very good sized cup holders. They do fit a full-size Yeti, but they're kind of textured and cool. I like them. They're nice and shiny. You've got a good, well-padded center console lid there, but opening it up, we get a little tray in here and just deep storage. It is pretty deep, but it's not very big. It's about a little bit larger than an iPhone Pro, but it's also all hard plastic in there, so it's gonna be loud and rattle around. Overall though, very practical cabin and interior with very practical to use controls. I love that we've got physical knobs for our volume, for our tuning, different connections, all the heating and air, everything is physical, which is just so much easier to use, especially if you spend a lot of time in the car. And typically when you buy a car like this, you're going to spend a bit in it. That's why you want the efficiency out of it. But let's hop in the back and see if that stands up to it as well. Coming into the back, we have a very, very same setup as in the front. The door panels look exactly the same. They didn't cheap out on anything there, brought the style all the way back. And the seats are also exactly the same too. We've got the fabric in the center with the leather or pleather outline, but hopefully that means it's just as comfortable as in the front, which it's not too bad. Good and plush, nice and comfy. Yeah, good headroom as well. I've got a couple inches there. I've got tons of space for my knees as well. And this is in my driving position. So maybe if Uncle Steve's back here, it might be up in my face, but hey, he's like 8'4", so what can you do? But we don't have a kangaroo pouch on the driver's seat. We do have one on the passenger seat here. We also do not get any heating and air back here. There are no vents at all, except for on the floor. And that's about it. There's not a whole lot to talk about back here. You do get a little armrest that is incredibly cushiony, but it's got a couple smaller cup holders in it, and they're not very deep either, so you're gonna risk those bouncing out. But this is a hatchback, so the real magic is in the back, right? That's why you buy a hatchback. So let's check that out and see if it's good enough. Now this is only a $30,000 car, so you have to actually open it. You gotta use those arms a little bit, and it's a very good size hatchback as well. You get a good amount of space back here, and that's even without the seats being laid down. And you can lay them down from in here, and that's pretty easy as well, and that lays incredibly flat. So you get a ton of space with this hatchback with a nice largemouth opening as well. And hey, if you put a bunch of stuff back here and you don't want anybody to see it, you can also cover it up like that. So then when we close our door, you can't see in there at all. That's perfect. But that wraps up the interior of the 2025 Honda Civic Sport Hybrid. Let's get it on the road and see if it's better than all these other Civics we've drove that we just were not impressed by. All right, now we're behind the wheel of the 2025 Honda Civic Sport Hybrid Hatchback. I am going to tell you right from the jump though, Steve, we actually have reviewed the 2025 Honda Civic Ice and the gasoline model.
Yeah.
And we were not impressed.
No.
This already feels so much better. It's so much quicker too.
Really?
Yeah, it feels like it. And actually, what else impresses me is the comfort and also the visibility. For a hatchback, the visibility is fantastic. I can see out the entire back window. I've got really good size side view mirrors, and the seat's nice and comfortable. This, even with it being a hatchback too, the windshield's nowhere nearly as raked as you would expect. So, very good visibility all the way around.
Yeah, the seats feel like a bucket seat.
Don't get me wrong, I drive an SUV every day and it sits like in a chair, but I like these kind of bucket seat style, laid back, sporty cars, you know. But aside from that, you know, like I already said, the acceleration feels way better than the gasoline Civic that we drove. And it's actually, on paper, quicker than the SI, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's like, I read about it, it's like almost 1 second faster.
And it definitely feels it too. I mean, it's no slouch at just over 6 seconds. No slouch. And it's got the looks too. It feels more sporty than a lot of their sporty models that they have. Like,
yeah, it doesn't feel like a hybrid.
No, not at all.
Not like the Prius.
Right. And if you want as good of performance out of the Prius, you actually have to go all the way up to the Prius Prime, which is a plug-in hybrid, and at that point these aren't even comparable. The steering also has some weight behind it. It's not super light, but it's also not very heavy. I also like the steering wheel too. It's like the perfect thickness. They've got it nailed down for sure. It also does have your standard safety features. It doesn't have a lot of things, like it doesn't have the external lane departure warning. It doesn't have 360 cameras, so you're missing a lot of that stuff. But
there's a lot of stuff that they don't have.
Yeah, but you know, it doesn't need to. It's got parking sensors still. It also has the touring model has regenerative braking. This model, it's got adaptive cruise control. And what more do you really need? Parking sensors and cruise control.
So how much cheaper than Prius?
Well, actually, this trim that we're driving right now comes in at $30,000. So you've got tons of features, more efficiency, which we'll get to, but great looks. I think it looks arguably way better than the Prius. And yeah, it's cheaper. So this one comes in at $30,000. The Prius starts around $38,000, and you can actually get the Sport Touring trim for $34,000. So you can get the Mac Daddy and still spend less than on a Prius.
I think 30 grand is kind of acceptable, but I really want to look at the Honda and say like, hey, let's make it under 30. That would be so much better. It sounds so much better. You know, imagine it's like, this is $29,000. It sounds so much better than 30 grand.
Yeah, it would, for sure.
Especially the feature they have, they don't have a lot of safety feature, and they don't have a charger in the back. You know, we're in 2025.
Yeah. That is a good point. It's lacking power. There's only 3 power points in the car.
The good thing is you don't have like the rolling window.
Right.
You know, my Versa, 2015 Versa base model 5-speed have a rolling window. It's not bad. It's not one last thing to worry about to break down, you know.
At least you don't have to do you can skip arm day too, because you're doing it every day.
And it was 10 grand. It was $10,000.
Right.
Brand new.
But it's not a hybrid that gets 50 miles per gallon in the city.
Yeah, this is amazing though. Like 0 to 60 is 6.2 seconds.
Yeah, well, Steve, now you're starting to get me all riled up. How about we get you in the driver's seat so you can tell us about the powertrain and how it's so quick?
So now it's Uncle Steve behind the wheel. The first impression is it's pretty fast. You know, probably one of the fast entry-level cars that we have driven on.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely faster than Accord and the CRV and the Civic.
And the WRX.
But depend who's driving.
Yeah, I guess.
Let's talk about the engine powertrain. This one has 2.0 liter, no turbo, inline 4-cylinder. It has a hybrid engine.
And it's naturally aspirated, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's crazy. It has 200 horsepower, which is same horsepower than the SI, but the SI have 1.5 liter turbocharged. However, the torque is a lot more than the Civic SI. This one has 232 foot-pound of torque. So it's about 30 foot-pound of torque more than the Civic SI. And like we said, the 0 to 60 is 6.2 seconds. It's like 1 second faster than Civic SI.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. Well, so go back to how it feel. Feel great actually. Steering wheel actually is nice, good size, good thickness. And there's a lot of cushion too, actually. Actually not. It doesn't have a lot of cushion. It's pretty thin.
Yeah.
And thick, but it's not a lot of the cushion. Okay, the acceleration great. The braking acceptable. I don't expect it has a Brembo brakes, you know, that kind of braking. So it's great. And one thing I really like about is the pedal, like the gas pedal and the brake pedal it's kind of like look like a racing pedal. It's aluminum, you know, metal. So something that they didn't chip out, you know. For the mile per gallon, it's amazing you have 50 for the city and 45 on the highway.
That's incredible.
That's crazy.
And then if you go up to the touring model, you get the regenerative braking too. So it'll improve even further.
And look at this acceleration. I have no problem just turning a big roll. And there's one thing is really crazy when I look at the RPM gauge. I see it went up to all the way to 10,000 RPM. That is crazy. And I tried to find like what is the red light for this car. I didn't say anything. It has no data. But by physical looking at it, it's like 10,000 RPM. That is like a motorcycle.
Right. It sounds good too when you got on.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I would say overall it's really great. Safe gear, it's not too slow, it's sporty looking, and simple, super simple.
And this has it all. It's got the looks to kill,
Yeah.
the pricing's there, also the performance and the efficiency. Like it literally has everything. The only thing you could ask for is more tech. But that's just gonna keep on jumping up the price, not every single thing you add. Like this doesn't have a wireless charger in it, but you can get that added on as an option. This has a 7-inch screen, you can get a 10-inch screen as an option. But this is perfectly fine how it is.
If you are like me, think about 30 grand is a little bit too much for a car like this, have lack of feature, then you can just wait like maybe a couple years and get it used for like 25, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. Get one that somebody turned in as a lease.
And how often do you use the safety feature? To be honest, I personally don't. I turn it off.
Steve, they're there for when you need them, not because you use them. they're there for in the event.
And that's true. I have a friend that had gotten an accident, and since then he stopped using all these features.
Don't get me wrong, I know $30,000 is a lot.
That's a lot.
But it's way cheaper than a lot of other hybrids, especially on the market.
Yeah.
Especially if you gotta compare it against Prius or the Hyundai hybrids or anything like that. You're going to be spending more with them. So this is an entry-level hybrid, absolutely amazing too. I love all the physical controls, how easy it is to get to everything. It just feels incredibly familiar. I feel like I've been driving this for decades. Also, it's got the performance there, the efficiency, and it's better than the Prius. I think it's the Prius killer. So you should get on the lot and check this out if you're in the market for a new hybrid vehicle, especially one that doesn't break the bank, but will save the bank when you're driving it every day. Smash up the likes, subscribe to the channel, let us know in the comments what you think of the 2025 Honda Civic Sport Hybrid Hatchback, and we'll see you on the next video.